And I will be the first one to say that, because there's a lot of stuff she was absolutely right about. Just like there's a lot of stuff that Sean Holloway was absolutely right about. Just like there is stuff that Candace Bondurant and her mother were absolutely right about. There are a lot of things that these people are absolutely right about. But then again, they don't know what they're right about and what they're wrong about because of their involvement in the situation. Imagine that. With people's assumptions of what I'm doing and them going out of their way to avoid the inevitability of their voices going to be heard, there's a lot of stuff that on my channel is completely unfair. Is that incorrect? I think it's unfair. I think that Meg should have the opportunity to say her full piece, even if I don't agree with it. Just as I have the ability on my channel to do that. If I disagree with you, I can get rid of you. But I don't get rid of people for disagreeing with me. I get rid of people for trolling. That's a pretty important one. For people who were not there to tell me how it was is precisely incorrect and precisely why we have these issues. There's stuff that Meg wants to tell me about that she wasn't there for, that I tried to tell her about. Obviously, since she's speaking about those situations, she's aware of them. So it's not like she can pretend that she wasn't aware of them, because in the conversation that she wants me to post up, I'll start tomorrow morning. This is her request. She wants the 3.5-hour conversation to be posted up on the internet, and I will do my best to make that happen. And it will take several days. It's not a quick thing, especially when you're trying to get it to download to YouTube. Now, one of the things to be said is that where the timeline, that's what I've got, is the established timeline. I mean, I saved everything under time and date. I was told when you're dealing with stalkers that you need to time and date it, write down who it is. Well, guess what? You know, it's even better than that. Recording the actual situation. That way, it's not their word versus yours. It's the actual conversation and the actual situation, unedited and uncut. Now, these editing skills take a whole crap ton of time. And there's stuff that she wants to pretend that because it's not on my YouTube channel, that she didn't say it or that I didn't say it. And the fact is, most of the conversations between her and I are not on my YouTube channel. That's not because it'll get me banned for posting it up. I can post it up, same as I can post up the stuff from the Jefferson family, the same as I can post up from the Bollinger family. I can post all of it up. There's nothing in there that's going to get me Facebook banned. There's nothing in there that's going to get me YouTube banned. I'm doing her a kindness and being as polite as I can by not posting that stuff up, by not posting those conversations on my YouTube channel. But just because I haven't posted them up on my YouTube channel doesn't mean I don't still have them. There's a lot of evidence that was destroyed when Ed decided to be an idiot. That's my little sister's friend. You know what? I considered him a friend too. What he did was beyond fucked up, but I do understand that he has mental issues of his own. And those mental issues, well, make it so that he shouldn't have ever touched any of my stuff. It's my fault. It's not my fault that my sister brought him over. It's not my fault that it became a hangout thing and a Ed making everything as complicated as he can thing. That's the reason I record everything. You know, there's the stuff that's online and there's the stuff that's not. The stuff that's not online, it's out of respect mostly. But you got to show me something worth respecting. All of these things that you claim that you did, yeah, I actually recorded the fact that those things happened. But in order to get it into court, you have to be speaking up. I get called mentally ill and ignored. That's why these things happened. That's why these things continue to happen. That's why I needed an advocate to begin with. And a lot of people treated me like shit and treated me like I owed them something for things that they didn't do. Right at the very beginning, right after Natalie disappeared, Lan Engeline and Kara Johnson, or not Kara Johnson Miles, Cara Rogers. Make sure I get people's names right. There was a lot of them, so it's difficult to keep everything straight, and I do apologize for that. Now, Cara Rogers, she's one of those people who was telling me that her family was being threatened. And then there's Sarah Bacon with her family being threatened. And then there's Candace Bondurant with her family being threatened. And you want to pretend this had nothing to do with my decision making? Like I'm selfish for thinking about those people in those situations? Or like I'm a horrible person for speaking out? Absolutely not. If the things that Candace Bondurant told me are true, then she should have come forward with those things. If the things that her mother said, and they're recorded on my YouTube channel, if those things are true, then yes, she was mandated to come forward about it, especially in her position, because here's the thing about Candace Bondurant's mom. She's a nurse. In any state in the union, that makes you a mandated reporter. With the situations where my autism advocate did make calls with me, I admitted that she made calls with me. I admitted the outcome. In some of those cases, I did record the phone calls. I had the ability to do so, and that's what I did. It was the right thing to do, because between having to wait for someone for years to come forward, and in those years' time, their memory on the situation is diminishing greatly. It doesn't matter if you have some issue with having cancer or some issue with being physically abused or just issues, period. Those issues, whether or not they exist, is arbitrary, because over time, people are going to forget important details. That's why it is important when somebody is trying to turn in the crimes against them to do something quickly, do something while that evidence still exists, before people's phones break, before they end up moving or end up getting stuck in prison. A lot of those witnesses, it's not that they weren't witnesses, it's not that those events didn't happen, it's that they were afraid that their past was going to get brought up. You know what? All I needed you to do was verify that you're a real human being who exists. Now, with a lot of the stuff that Meg is mad at me about, there's situations that she wants to claim that I'm blaming her for that were situations that happened before I ever knew she existed. Well, that doesn't work. When I talk about these people who did these horrible things, she doesn't want to be clumped in with them, and I understand that, but she is clumped in with them because many of these people, just like her, had good intentions. They're too busy saying that it's not going to work, it's not going to work. Well, you know what? With people taking their dear sweet time coming forward, that's right, it doesn't work, because they already had their court dates without me and without you, because you never spoke up. Because you didn't make that effort. And then you want to throw it in my face that later on, when it was too late, you were finally going to make that effort. Well, then speak up about it. If you really did make that effort, don't tell me about it. Tell the public, tell the news, tell the courts. Make an effort, an actual effort. Instead of telling me no matter what, it's not going to work, it's not going to work, just take the abuse. Abso-fucking-lutely not. What's the point in having mandated reporters if there is no consequences for not doing their job as a mandated reporter? On paper, there is. By law, the fact that I told these people about the abuse that I'm going through and they didn't turn it in is a major issue. It's against the law. Did these people actually try to turn it in? When? Where is their proof? With some of the stuff with Megs, she's wanting to use stuff that I posted up. It's on the internet. I didn't hide it. She did write those things. But I get treated in court like I wrote those things, like Meg had nothing to do with it, like I manufactured it, like I imagined it. And that's the thing about Meg not speaking up. If the courts are going to pretend that those things didn't happen because you didn't try to speak up when it made a difference, because you didn't understand, because you weren't listening, and then later on, you're like, well, I said something. That's right, after the fact. After Scott Decosta had assaulted me already. After I had already been assaulted repeatedly in town. There's one situation that she wanted to bring up where I had been assaulted by the guy with the cat, she calls him. That's Joshua Rayborn. She said, you know, I did call the cops on that. I said, did you make a police report? No, she didn't. She never made a police report. That's pretty important. You know, there's some pretty important stuff to be said about that. About, yeah, it's difficult to get a court date when nobody else makes a fucking police report. You talk to who? God and everybody, but never made a police report. Well, wouldn't that be the first thing you should do? Well, no, because when you're called mentally ill, you have to go through a bunch of other places. That's the whole reason that I went through all of the bullshit to get diagnosed as autistic, is so that I could get actual help from all of these agencies that apparently don't. They don't do the things that you claim that they do. Meg is a witness that they don't do these things that you're claiming that they do. And with the lack of communication, each one of these places not communicating with the other, that's the same thing with Meg. That's the same thing with all of these people. They didn't want to work together. They didn't want to actually coordinate together. That's what needed to happen. My predators coordinated. My predators worked together. My predators did not do it alone. Now, when these people say, I did this, and this, well, you know what? I brought those things up. That you people did those things. I was treated like I was schizophrenic because I had to go in alone. I had to make those phone calls alone. When you finally did, Meg finally did make phone calls with me, do you know how far into that shitty situation it was? Not only that, but she can't keep events in line because, see, here's the thing, is that there were over a dozen situations in Dual County, Nebraska since she started advocating for me that I've tried to turn into her. Over a dozen of these situations. These were assaults or attempted assaults or threats against my life or my loved ones. When she was finally willing to do something about it, when she finally understood, yes, telling me to move is not going to help. See, the situation with me being here in Oregon, she's like, but it's not my fault you're in Oregon. Actually, it is. You could have spoken up when it made a difference instead of waiting until it no longer made a difference. But that allowed my predators to do a lot more crimes to me, which is the reason that that statute of limitations bullshit doesn't matter and you can still speak up. Because I am still living the hell of consequences from all of this. The fact that the cops lied in court and your testimony proves it, well, that is pretty fucking important. And yes, you can still speak up about that. All of these situations where the cops get away with doing the worst stuff are all situations where they removed me from the ability to record the situations. Why? Because they can do all sorts of cheap, dirty shit to keep you from getting the body cam evidence that they have. But they can't do all of that cheap shit to you. But then again, they still did it, didn't they? They still broke the law. They broke the law to gain access to the evidence against them, the evidence of their crimes. They intentionally did these things to deprive me of resources and to destroy my name and make me a further target for more violence. It's illegal for me to threaten these people back, but it's not illegal for them to threaten me. Notice I said back. You know how many people threatened to kill me before Natalie was killed? And I didn't threaten to kill any of them. You know how many people threatened to kill me after Natalie was killed? A lot. When I finally threatened those people back, I did so live on YouTube. I did so live on Facebook. I made sure that I did it as public as possible because that is literally what it takes to get people to stop and look. That doesn't mean they'll listen, but at least they stop and look. And with Meg telling me, well, you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that, that stuff doesn't help you. That stuff doesn't help you. You know what? You didn't help me. That's why I had to do those things. When the cops continued to tell me that it was her job, even after she'd explained to me over and over again it's not her job, and I explained to them that it's not her job, and even eventually we had a three-way conversation where she explained to them that it's not her job, they still continued to operate as if it were. Meg's decisions did not get people killed. That's why I don't use the C word to describe her. That's why I don't call her the C word. At the same time, yes, she did not take the situation seriously when it absolutely needed to be taken seriously. Just like everyone else, the focus was on getting housing. But after I got housing, there was no more help. After I got housing, that's it. Now I've got housing. What am I to do then? She wants to bring up the situation with Josh. You know, that was after I broke the windows there. After. When I was assaulted by Joshua Rayborn, and that's a situation where she wants to talk about how she got involved. That wasn't until after I already had to move out of low income. That was that very same fucking week. She said she'll have to go through the timeline and go through the videos. You know, that's the thing about paraphrasing. If you're going to take a piece out of context, of course, by law, you're not allowed to do that. And a lot of people keep telling me about how this stuff is the judge's prerogative. No, it's not. It's absolutely fucking not. We have a constitution there for a reason. We have a Bill of Rights there for a fucking reason. If those things are not observed, then no, there's no fucking prerogative there. If people are dead and the judge wants to pretend that those people don't exist, that judge is breaking the law. If the judge is literally rewording the words that you said to make what you didn't say at that point into a crime that you committed, he is fucked up. He has overstepped his boundaries. He has overstepped the limits of the law. He has overstepped his rights, and he has at that point trampled on mine. People didn't take it seriously. They didn't want to take it seriously. And then when they realized that they should take it seriously, well, Meg wanted to pull that, I'll file. You'll file what? You'll finally file a police report if I what? If I post up the conversations between you and I that have your phone number in it, if I post up conversations between you and I that talk about your personal business, here's the thing about your personal business, Meg. You telling me about your personal business and making me feel bad for going to you for help. Yes, I went and tried to get help elsewhere. Another thing that Meg has that's completely wrong is this assumption that all of these people were trying to help me that weren't. Penny Cooper. Penny Cooper was supposed to help me. She's an accredited advocate. That's in her job description, to be an advocate. It is in her job description. According to Marcia Estrada, the things that I was complaining to Penny Cooper that Penny Cooper said weren't her job. It wasn't her responsibility to do those things. According to Marcia Estrada, they absolutely were. And Marcia Estrada is her boss. Meg made mistakes, and I have to pay for them. She made bad assumptions, and I have to pay for them. She found out later on that her assumptions were wrong. She does admit that her assumptions were wrong. But what she's not willing to admit is that there are consequences for me, because she made decisions based upon her assumptions which were wrong. So you admit that your assumptions were wrong and that you made wrong decisions based on it, but you want to pretend that there are no consequences for me because of your actions, because of your assumptions. Your actions were because of your assumptions, and those actions were not helpful. Shannon Alvarado had it in her head that she was going to be helpful, but did she speak up? No, she didn't listen. She has to speak up. She's the one. I'm not allowed. The situation between her and Kara Johnson Miles, who got to slander me in court without ever being there. She got to do that all the way from Texas, while Shannon Alvarado can't turn in Kara Johnson Miles because she lives in California. Whoa, hold on a second. If Kara Johnson Miles is able to, and you're not, but then again, Shannon Alvarado never made the effort. She literally never made the effort. With all of these people, did you make a police report? That's the most important question right there. Did you make a police report? The answer across the board is no, with the exception of Kayla Trujillo. She claims that she did actually make one. That was on the 29th of December of 2017, while we still thought Natalie Bollinger was alive. The things that the cops said that my autism advocate was supposed to do, she didn't do. She explained to me that it's not her job to do those things. But they swore up and down that it was. And even after the fact, even after she explained to them that it wasn't her job, they still continued to play as if it was. As if Meg was helping me with these things and that I was just denying the help. No, they kept cutting me off. When Meg did finally actually try to help me, she actually made these calls with me, finally. Made the calls with me to Capwin to try to get me a room so that I could turn in those officers. And what did Scott Decosta do? He used all of western Nebraska to shut me down and prevent me from doing that. He utilized law enforcement in Garden County. He utilized law enforcement in Cheyenne County. He utilized the Sheriff's Department in Cheyenne County as well as the Police Department in Cheyenne County. He also used the Scottsbluff Sheriff's Department and the Scottsbluff Police Department. Being in their jails was not a lot of fun. He also was able to utilize Lincoln, the prison system, to prevent me from turning him in. Meg said that she got to talk to me a lot while I was in prison. No, she didn't. When I was in prison, we got to talk a grand total of one occasion when the ADA coordinator was there, and he quit his job, so my rights were not observed there. He was supposed to help me, but he didn't. He quit his job. Again, not my fault. There's a lot of stuff that people keep saying, that's not my fault, Sean, that's not my fault. I'm not saying it's your fault. What I'm saying is that you looking away is your fault. That's a decision that you consciously made. Meg made a conscious decision to pretend like I was fucking mentally goddamn retarded when I was telling her, hey, the cops are telling me this is what your job is. The same exact things that if you go back and listen to that conversation with Amanda DeMette, Amanda DeMette was absolutely certain that this was Meg's job. When I explained to Meg, hey, this is what the cops were saying too. Except with the cops, it took you 6 months. With Amanda DeMette, it took a couple of days because we had to wait until Amanda had time because she has special needs kids. And I have to understand that. Through all of this, the kids always came first. When Rihanna was supposed to be helping me with my stuff, she didn't. Instead, she was busy getting drunk, feeling sorry for herself, and taking it out on 2 kids that weren't even hers. Meanwhile, I didn't have any of the decision making there. I'm not the one that Amy Spencer, aka Amy Kingery, dumped her kids off on. She dumped her kids off on Rihanna, who didn't even tell Amy that she was going to have me involved. There's also the fact that Amy and I used to be friends. That was a situation that David and Laura Nelson were aware of. They were aware of the fact that my tools were over there. They were aware of the fact that, well, Amy Spencer got her kids taken once before because she couldn't stay off the meth, and they were chatting her up, how good she was doing, how if her and Josh weren't sober, they'd have never helped them out, and so on and so forth. Well, they didn't stay sober. They weren't sober. They kept on using, and I have evidence of it in my electronic devices. But if you don't look at the evidence, you're just going to pass judgment on me based on your assumptions, on your assumption of it won't work. Well, you know what? If you don't try for 6 months, 6 months down the line, it might not work. With that situation with me trying to explain what's going on with Scott Decosta and the fact that I've had to make all of these law enforcement calls alone. I've had to call the FBI alone every single time. Literally every time. You go back through all my calls to the FBI. There was a few of them where she finally called up the Dual County Sheriff's Department with me, and I recorded those calls, but I had to pull tooth and nail to get her to do that. If these things did happen, don't tell me about it. Law enforcement needs to know about it. But making a police report is where it all starts off. I made the police reports, but without people actually there in my corner with the term mentally ill being held over my head, those cops were not going to do their jobs, plain and simple. They force us to do desperate things through these exact methods, and many people know that these things are going on, and they could speak up about it, but they don't. And then it's my fault that they didn't? No, it's absolutely not. I didn't make cowards. You want to blame stuff on God, I hear you. God made the cowards, not me. You guys want to tell me about free will, but then free will magically, that argument goes out the window when the argument is losing. Magically, everything was preordained by God, but then when you start losing that argument, the whole God wills it argument, you go right back to the original one. You just bounce back and forth between those two very conflicting points of view. Either God ordained it all, or you have free will. You can't have both. If God preordained your entire life, this is what's supposed to happen, then you do not have free will. You are doing what you are programmed by the Almighty to do. That's the biggest problem with going to people who are religious, is that they know how to manipulate that religion to make whatever they want to do okay. Like those people who want to take Jesus' words out of context and use that as an excuse when they murder a homosexual. No, Jesus did not say to kill homosexuals. He said they will die. He said everyone will die in that sermon. If you listen to the stuff that he talks about all the people who are going to die, he described every one of us, every single one of us. We're all going to die. To say that we're going to die is not a threat against someone's life. We are factually, every one of us, going to die. None of us are going to live forever. There is no Lazarus pool. That is a fantasy in your head. Lots of rich people want to spend billions of dollars to try to extend their own lives. Meanwhile, your insurance doesn't even cover your child's cancer. But a lot of people care about homosexuals. So while your insurance will not cover your child's cancer, your insurance will cover you getting a sex change. Because apparently having a sex change is a life-altering operation that is a necessity where your child's tumor is not. I'm not against homosexuals. I am not against sex changes. I am against prioritizing one over the other. If you're not choosing the children first, you're choosing wrong. With Rihanna, she was drunk and selfish. And she admitted that she did the horrible things that she did because she was angry. But that doesn't change the fact that the police just wanted to assume that that alcoholic was telling the truth and do horrible things and break the law and get away with it. They did everything that they could. She also, in our conversations, was so drunk that she was blaming me for stuff that her husband had done. She said that I was blaming everything on the alcohol for like 20 years. Shit, I didn't even know she was an alcoholic until I got there to Cheyenne. That was like a year and a half before she died. You know, she offered to help me, and there was a situation while I was at Candace Bondurant's. I was trying to get a safe place for one of Natalie's ex-stepmothers. This is one of those ex-stepmothers who was working with Kara Johnson Miles. One of the ones who was gaslighting me, giving me empty promises. The police should have been working together with us. Us. The police should have been working together with me and Danica Garner. They should have been working together with me and Rochelle Shelley Campbell. These women were in contact with me for months and months and months on end, offering to come have coffee. Somehow, magically, they couldn't see anything that I posted at them. They were only able to get a hold of me right before my Facebook ban was ended, so I couldn't even respond to them. And then there's the situations like with Kara Johnson Miles manipulating the situation. And all these people telling me the cops are allowed to look away. No, they're fucking not. They are mandated fucking reporters. They blew me off because they didn't want to do their jobs, and that's not okay. Now, one of the things with Meg is that she, in the conversation that I recorded, you know, she's admitting to most of these things. She's admitting that these are not my fault. The things that did happen, that the cops claimed didn't happen. They claimed that I wasn't trying to get help, that I wasn't making these calls. Well, Meg can verify. But is she willing to do so? Is she too afraid to speak up publicly? For me, having to go public and people telling me not to do it that way. Well, you know what? I tried it the other way. You blew me off. What do you expect me to fucking do? Just take it? You're out of your fucking mind. While people are threatening and harassing my little sister and my niece, and a great many other people, and these people want to come down on me. Oh, well, you know, this person and that person are being mean to me. Well, they're being even meaner to me. And I'm getting treated like I'm making it up when they're mean to me. At least I'm not treating you like you're making it up when they're mean to you. Then these people want to have hypothetical maybes that didn't actually happen as excuses for being shitheads to me. Well, fuck that. If I wasn't forced into a desperate situation, I wouldn't have to do desperate things. You want to pretend that me trying to get the information that I needed in order to coordinate with you, you want to pretend that that makes me a bad person? No, it's absolutely not. I did the best I could with the resources I had at my disposal. That was the best that I could do. Now with Meg wanting to pretend like these people could have threatened her, they didn't. Pretending like these people could have threatened her life, I got her to admit they didn't. They didn't do anything of the sort. I was cut off from communication. So I did what I could to reestablish communication with the people that were witnesses to the situation. Meg should have spoken up in my court date. She should have pushed it with my public pretender. When he's saying he can't do these things, you can see in the Johnny Depp case and many other situations just like it, that all of the things that they're telling me they can't do, they absolutely can. Not just in the state of California, not just in the state of New York, not just in the state of Nebraska or the state of Texas, every state in the fucking union. When you're called mentally ill, you need people to speak up for you. That's what an advocate is supposed to do. The lack of communication between Dual County Sheriff's Department and Meg, who is my autism advocate, that's not my fault. I told Meg what the Dual County Sheriff's Department was telling me. I told the Dual County Sheriff's Department what Meg was telling me, and back and forth for months. Then she wants to mess up the timeline in her own head to make it okay. It's like those people who poked me with a stick for 6 months, and when I scream for help, they go, "See, he's dangerous." I only poked him with a stick because he was screaming. No. You poked me with a stick until I screamed. I did desperate things because I had to stop the abuse. Meg wants to keep on jumping over that whole hurdle. She wants to ignore all of the actual abuse that I'm going through, including my financial abuse, to make this just an emotional thing. No, this is not a fucking emotional thing. This is what I fucking live in. This is fucking reality. I don't emotionally live in a fucking car. I literally live in a fucking car. I don't have to emotionally try to survive on $800. I have to literally survive on $800. For these people to go out of their way to play stupid for so incredibly long. Meanwhile, the conversations recorded with them show that I was telling the truth. The conversations also show that rather than try to understand what's going on, they want to make every excuse, including for my predators. You shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have had to, is the fucking point. By the time I broke those windows at the low income up there, that was a point of desperation because I had already gone to Meg repeatedly about the abuse. I had already gone to Jen Beebe repeatedly about the abuse. Jen Beebe was ignoring me for 6 months. Meg Missigatis did Jen Beebe's job. Jen Beebe got paid for it, but did not do it. Meg did that job, but did not get paid for it. She volunteered. Now, I'm not saying that she's a bad person for volunteering. A lot of these people had good intentions, but they fucked up over bad assumptions. When you're autistic, people treat you like you're retarded. A lot of parents of autistic children treat their own children like they're retarded. We get bullied at school and we're told to just take it. tell us to go to our predators to ask them to stop. Look what happened when I asked Natalie to put a stop to this. Look what happened when I went to the people I'm supposed to go to try to get help putting a stop to this. Look at how I was treated. People did not want to look at the evidence. All these people at the very beginning telling me they didn't want to look at the evidence because they trusted me. Well, then why aren't you fucking speaking up? Being told that I'm imagining these people, that they're figments of my imagination, that I'm hallucinating this, that I am delusional. No, absolutely not. It's not a delusion if you can prove it. It's not like I'm telling people I'm the second reincarnation of Jesus H. fucking goddamn Christ. It's not like I'm pretending that I'm a purple fucking dinosaur. It's not like I think I'm Lucifer. The thing is that I am treated like I am schizophrenic for saying these officers by name did to others. Some of those others got paid out a lot of money. The total damages to the citizens of Boulder County for Waylon Lolotai reaches in the millions for the settlements. In the millions. But you don't want to hear that. It doesn't fit your narrative. Then there's the fact that there's a big difference between a narrative and the truth. If I've got evidence, it's not just a narrative. With a lot of people, they told me that they were planning on doing things after they had done absolutely nothing and not said anything about doing any such thing, or even hinting that they would do any such thing. After the fact, they want to claim that, oh, well, I was gonna do this. No, you're just saying that to be hurtful. Just like Brandon Ratner with his situation when he wanted to be angry with me for telling the truth. And he's mad at many of the same things as Megan Messigatis. I was trying to tell you what was going on. You were busy talking about yourself. How is that going to help me? How is that advocating for me? How is telling me that nothing is going to work and then making zero effort? Obviously, it's not going to work if you make zero effort. Then 6 months down the road, you finally get off your ass and do something and it doesn't work. Well, of course it didn't fucking work. You didn't get off your ass for 6 months. Megan Messigatis did not help me to get a court date to take my predators to court. She did nothing to help me protect myself from these predators, because without taking them to court, they get to get away with it again and again and again and again. She tells me I need to move. But then when I move, look, I can't be helped here. I have to get everything transferred here. She's willing to help me get everything transferred to here. This is not a safe place. I don't have a support network here. If the courts won't hear it, go to the media. If that doesn't work, go to social media. Anyone can speak up. If you give a shit, you will find a place to be heard. But if you're not making police reports, obviously ain't nothing gonna happen. When I'm the only one making police reports, and as a result, the police get to pretend that, well, I'm making everything up. They get to pretend like I'm making up everything that Meg said. Why am I pissed off at Meg? Because they didn't just slander me, they also slandered her. But she doesn't care. There aren't consequences for her the way they are for me. She hasn't lost her family, lost all of her friends, and been forced into homelessness. The one thing where she was trying to pretend that I had people get a hold of her to threaten her. She admits they didn't threaten her. And that's not why they got a hold of her. But she didn't want to hear that. She didn't want to try to understand the situation. She wanted to play victim. Because I tried to get the help that I needed so that I could coordinate with my autism advocate. While I was in prison, no, I was not allowed to talk to her. She was never on my contact list because I needed her phone number and her fucking address to do that. People telling me they're not allowed to do this and they're not allowed to do that. Well, if you go through it with me, you realize you're fucking wrong. Meanwhile, there's a lot of dead people now. A lot of them. A lot of my witnesses are fucking croaked. They're dead. They're deader than a fucking doornail. There ain't no bringing them back. Janine Barrett is a fucking corpse. Rory Jepson is a fucking corpse. Christine Buhit is a fucking corpse. Rand Ingersoll is dead too. Well, you don't believe these people existed? No, they absolutely did. There's recordings of these people on my fucking YouTube channel. People wanted to offer to help in concept, just in concept. Oh, Sean, my pretty words of joy should fix all of your problems. No, they don't. With David and Becky. Betsy, my fault. With David and Betsy. David and Betsy Prowl. Betsy got the same handcuff treatment that I did. Now, I spoke up about how wrong it was. They never spoke up for me. Ever. David wanted to meet me in person because he couldn't talk about it over the internet. Would have been nice to be able to go do that in person and talk to him in person, but he lived in Boulder. But Betsy pretended that I didn't exist for 6 months while David pretended like he wanted to help. Then Betsy got a hold of me after ignoring me for 6 months. And yeah, I made a comment about it. It took her 6 months to get back a hold of me. Now, instead of give it to God or taking it to court, they took it to court. Did they help me to take it to court? No. And that's the thing about most of these victims. The reason that the predators get away with it is because you fucking bitches settle out of court. And that's one of the biggest issues with this whole financial thing, is that these crimes being committed against us by law enforcement knows that it's illegal. These cops know that they are committing felonies. They know that it's felonies that they're committing. And most of you guys, just like Megs, I call them pocket lawyers. She says she can't do nothing because she's not a lawyer. But then all of a sudden, when it comes to speaking up, she's a pocket lawyer. You know, Anna Hunka is dead too, and she's an important witness. Mobley's dead too, and he's an important witness. It's not just the fact that I went to them for help, though. It's also the way that they treated me, the way that they blew me off when I went to them for help. The way they wanted those pretty words to be the fix-it. No, those pretty words aren't what I need. Did I go to you for help? That's the simplest question in all of this. Did I go to you for help? Did I try? Did I try to get help? Absolutely I did. And absolutely I am still trying. People want to be angry because I posted this stuff up on the internet. I wouldn't have had to post it up on the internet if you'd have come forward. You want to claim that you come forward, but you didn't. Not until after I had to put it on the internet. Then you're angry at me because I put it on the internet, something that you should have come forward with from the very start. Did these things happen or didn't they? Now, the thing with my autism advocate is that nearly all of this stuff she admits happened. She just doesn't want to admit to the consequences, that there are consequences for others because of her bad assumptions. Now, her assumptions with Dual County Sheriff's Department, the assumptions that she made there, she ended up being wrong, being extremely wrong. And in my recordings, you get to hear that she was wrong about those situations. All these people saying nobody cares, making excuses not to even try, that's the reason it didn't go anywhere, is because those people didn't try when it made a difference. Now, that's one of the things that I was talking to Meg about. And she's like, well, coming forward now won't make a difference if it was already too late then. No. You do not get to play it off like that. You do not get to jump all over the timeline to make pieces fit where you want them. You don't get to pretend that I spoke up about absolutely nothing, especially if you're going to admit that those events happened. Those events did happen. These people verified that these events did happen. These events that I was treated like I was schizophrenic for saying. But these people never came forward and made police reports. So the police got away with doing what they were doing because none of these people were intelligent enough to understand what making a police report means. It means making a police report. Megan Missigatis admits she never made a police report. Ever. Through all of this, she never made a police report. And then the cops pretend that these things didn't happen because she never made a police report. No, those things did happen. They're verified on YouTube. They have to be verified on YouTube because she's not coming forward about it. So I have to. Yeah, people ain't happy that I call them stupid after they do stupid things. Assuming that I am lying to you about what the cops are telling me when I have it recorded on my YouTube, them saying those things even. You have access to that. Now, what is it that Meg is looking at? Did she look at all of the videos where I'm speaking about those situations? No, she doesn't, because she's not looking at them all herself. Somebody is sending them to her. Do I care who it is that's sending it to her? No, I really don't. You know who told Robert Harvoy that I recorded him and that he was on YouTube? The opposition. That gives Robert Harvoy lots of motivation for not doing his job. He got busted already not doing his job. He allowed falsehoods because he didn't want to do his job. He got paid and he didn't do his job. Public pretenders need to be monitored. Police need to be monitored. And the public needs to have access to those body cameras instead of having to give up their entire lives in an attempt to get that before it's destroyed. And that's the thing that Megan doesn't want to pay any attention to as far as that goes, is that her bad assumption, her assumption that I was too retarded to know what those cops were telling me for 6 months, and then when she finally did talk to him, it turned out that I was right. Their assumptions that I told her from the start, this is what the cops are treating me like. Oh no, Sean, oh no. And then finally, when she has that conversation with him 6 months down the road, yeah, it's obvious that that is what they were pushing. Even after she explained that that's not her job, they still continued to operate as if it were. when she did try to get involved with that situation with Capwin. She wants to be angry with me because she did make those calls. There's absolutely she made those calls. How long did it take for her to take it seriously enough to make those calls? Was it when I was talking to her calm and collectively and trying to explain the situation? No, because in those situations, she's not understanding of what a frantic fucking situation I'm in because I'm having to fake it till I make it. I'm having to pretend in a calm, clear, concise way. Everything is okay. I have to use my everything is okay voice. Otherwise, people pretend like I'm being hostile. I have to pretend everything is okay while explaining that everything is not. Now, Meg wanted to focus on a couple of situations where she finally got involved when it was already too late. And that those cops literally didn't do their job because literally I'm having to go to the same cops that I'm trying to turn in. And then I got people from the Dual County Sheriff's Department knowing that I'm still trying to turn these people in, and also from the Nebraska State Patrol knowing that I'm still trying to turn these officers in. They want to tell me later on when I'm still trying to turn these officers in, oh, I thought you were getting along. That doesn't justify their crimes. Just because you are forcing me to go to an officer who has shown himself to be immoral, just because you are forcing me to go to Scott Decosta to turn in Scott Decosta and any other predators that I have in that town, when he has shown loud and clear that he doesn't give a fuck, he's going to help them get away. Why is he going to help them get away? Because helping them get away helps him get away. People are dead. All these other people are allowed to get frustrated. Megan Misigatis has it in her head that she's allowed to be frustrated at the situation. She's allowed to be frustrated, but I'm not. She's allowed to be paranoid over the possibility of something that could have happened but didn't. And I'm paranoid over things that are actually happening and continue to happen. When did she finally make that call about Josh? Well, obviously, when I was over at Josh and Amy's house sitting their house like I was asked to. Obviously, while that was going on, that was right after the situation with the broken glass up at low income. It was literally right after that. So when she says that she tried, take a look at when I got fucking kicked out of low income. Take a look at when I broke that glass. Take a look at how much you actually tried before that situation. And look at how much of these efforts that you keep saying that you did this, and this. How many of those things were after I had to break fucking windows because you were not taking it seriously? Because you were busy talking about yourself. Because you were busy being a negative ninny saying that it's not going to work. Well, if you wait for 6 months, it's not going to work because they've already slandered me in court. If she's going to say these things happened, and she's going to tell me that these things happened, and she knows that I'm being treated like I am schizophrenic for saying that these things happened, and she's not coming forward about the fact that these things did happen, and I'm having to record our conversations still and put them on YouTube. And you know what? With this 3.5 hour recording, she's insistent. She wants it posted up. Well, that'll happen. Anyway, Starbucks is closed, so I gotta head out of here so I don't get in trouble. Something that most of y'all don't want to think about. It's not like I get just come here and park and use the internet. No, I have to be a paying customer, and when they're closed, I gotta leave. Now, there's other people here, and they're not getting in trouble for being here, and I'm hoping I don't get in trouble for being here, but the sooner I go, the less likely it is to happen. Someone calling themselves MRRM is typing stuff that I don't know what it means. I'll have to look it up later, I guess, find out what language it's in. Anyway, y'all be safe, stay out of trouble, or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper. If somebody is coming to you about abuse that they're going through, especially if there's a lot of it, don't blow them off. Don't tell them to just let it go, because that is never the right thing to do. When I was told that I needed to talk to Natalie Bollinger about the situation, she was the only one who could put a stop to it. That's what I tried. When I was told, hey, you got to go to Jeff Ritter and the Colorado Coalition of the Homeless, that was a woman named Nicole Jarrell who told me to do that. And that's what I did. I did what she asked. When Tamara and Nicole were, different Nicole Peralta, were telling me, hey, there's no services here in western Nebraska. You need to go to Colorado, the Front Range, for that. That's where I went. After the situation with Natalie, I had to leave the Front Range. I had to go to the state of Nebraska again to try to get help from those same people. Except Tamara didn't work there anymore. Instead, it was Jen Beebe. And Jen Beebe, unlike Tamara, Jen Beebe was not helpful at all. She was doing things based on her assumptions, just like with Meg. Her assumptions. Now, she may say that she didn't assume that I was retarded, but her actions show that she did. Her actions for that 6 months show that for that entire 6 months, while I was telling her about these things and she was doing nothing about it, her actions show that she wasn't taking it seriously. She didn't take it seriously until I broke a fucking window. He should not have gotten that far. Now, Meg says it's not my fault to a lot of different things that happen, and she's absolutely right. And I say it's not my fault. She wants to make excuses for my predators. Oh, the cops only did that because you were riding around on a loud gas mower. Really? You're going to make excuses for these who committed crimes against me, and you're going to say that it's okay because I had a lawnmower? Are you fucking hearing yourself? Are you hearing yourself? Does that validate what they did? Does that validate them assaulting me? Does that validate them blowing me off? Does that validate them ignoring the crimes against me? I jumped through these hoops so I could get help stopping the abuse, so I could get help being heard. Instead, jumping through the hoops that these people asked me to jump through has prevented me from being heard. My predators get to use this as a perfect excuse for not listening to me, for not listening to the victim. Now, Meg, in this 3.5-hour conversation that I recorded on this thing, in that 3.5-hour conversation, she admits that I'm the one that got screwed. She admits that I am a victim. What she doesn't want to admit to is that there are consequences. The statute of limitations, that whole 6 months where I was trying to get help from her, trying to explain the situation, she wanted to power pound very certain things, and we worked on that. Something Rikahana family, Kaihu Woods Road, New Zealand. Is that New Zealand? MRRM is typing it. He typed, I reckon you're right, bro. I don't hate these people. What I hate is that they won't admit that they screwed up and that their screw-ups have consequences. Meg admitted that she made mistakes. That is a good start. But admitting that you made mistakes and apologizing, well, when you go out of your way to make excuse why it's okay, you're not actually sorry. So don't bother saying you're sorry unless you're going to do something to remedy the situation. With her saying that she will call the FBI with me, I certainly hope so. The problem is that These things needed to be done before these law enforcement agencies were allowed to do things to me because I had to go in solo. Now, as far as my evidence went, that evidence needed to go to Megan Misigatis, and I did my best to try to get it to her. That's what I was trying to do, and she admits that in the conversation. We were trying to sit down and go through that evidence and get it sent out to where it needed to go. It cost me a lot of money to do that. If I'd have been able to go 2 more days, I would have gotten my paycheck, and I'd have been able to use that money to actually rent the Google Drive thing so that it had enough storage for everything that I had, because I didn't. I had to buy the month-by-month plan of just a tiny bit of storage, and that wasn't enough. And because it didn't renew itself while I was locked up, that evidence got destroyed. It doesn't exist anymore. So when I try to send the links to people, it goes absolutely fucking nowhere. Scott Decosta and his goons doing what they did cut me off from all of those resources. And when Meg says I was helping you to get those things back, exactly. I admitted that. I said that you were trying to get those things back with me. I didn't pretend that didn't happen. It's the situation that forced that situation to happen that it shouldn't have happened to begin with. I never should have been forced into that situation. Miss Peaches making every excuse, claiming that she's going to go in with me to talk to the police and she's going to make a police report. And then 7 months later, she haven't. Same thing with Mandy Hughes. Kept on promising she was gonna, and then when it was time to, she's got every excuse why she can't. If her excuse is that her kids are sick, and I say, hey, this lady was gonna help me, but her kids are sick. And then you want to treat me like shit because I told the truth. No. Were your kids really sick, or did you lie to me? Because it is a part of the story. I did go to you for help. You did promise me the help that I needed, but you didn't provide it. You didn't step up. I wasted my time believing you. I wanted to believe you. And that's not just with Mandy Hughes. A lot of people took severe advantage of me. Promised to help me and then didn't. They took me for all I was worth. And Meg has her own opinions on that too. She is claiming that the smart people are the ones who are pretending that it didn't happen because they know I have zero chance of winning. No, those people are the ones who needed to come forward, and their testimony would have given me a chance of winning. But the fact is that they procrastinated until I had to do desperate shit for them to take it seriously, and then they used the fact that I had to do desperate shit as their excuse to do nothing. No. Now you're bouncing around the timeline, cause and effect. Did I speak out because you fucked up, or did you fuck up because I spoke out? Well, if you hadn't fucked up, I wouldn't have had a reason to speak out, would I? Meanwhile, I'm speaking out about situations that you have verified. So if you have verified those situations, and then you want to play later like those situations didn't happen, or you want to misrepresent the situation, and then you want to tell me a completely different story later when you're angry, or you want to tell everyone else a different story than you're telling me, I am an at-risk adult because of that. People telling me I should go to the cops about stuff, and then they tell me that the cops are allowed to lie to me, and then they tell me I have to trust the cops. How the fuck am I going to trust people who are allowed to lie to me, especially when I don't have a witness there and present for if they actually do so, because those lies do affect the outcome, and they do affect my ability to make the right decision. With the right information, it is easy to make the right decision. When people are constantly blowing smoke up your ass and lying to you, that's not going to happen. Now, Meg wanted to do the whole apologize but backtrack. No. Let me tell you something about Dylan Bauer. The reason I respect Dylan Bauer is because he owned it. He was a fucking dick in high school. And he admitted it. And he said he was sorry. He also changed his behaviors. Instead of pretending that he wasn't a dick in high school, instead of pretending that those things didn't happen, he apologized and changed the way that he treated me. He didn't just apologize. He apologized and then treated me like I'm a human being. Oh my God. Thing is, all of these people who claim that they were going to help me, they didn't coordinate together. Tommy Manson is one of the inmates who was trying to help me. Tommy Manson, that's right. He's got the same last name as a famous serial killer dude who didn't actually kill anyone. That's the strangest thing, isn't it? Charles Manson didn't actually kill anyone, but he is held responsible. Well, Natalie Bollinger, same thing. Natalie Bollinger didn't actually assault me. She convinced other people to do so through lies and slander. She convinced other people to lie and slander about me. People like Maddie Boa. And that's not okay. And it didn't come down to who was right or wrong. It came down to opinions and public opinions. And it came down to cowardice. Because although my predators are not afraid to put their names out there, Megan Misigatis wants to be pissed off that her last name is out there. She also wants to be pissed off that Tommy Manson tried to help me when I was being denied my rights. And then she wanted to say, oh, well, we talked all the time while you were in prison. No, we didn't. No, we didn't. I was not allowed to call her when I was in prison. There were 2 phone calls where I got to talk to her while I was in prison. I didn't make either of those calls. One of them was made by the ADA coordinator. The other one was made by Robert Harvoy. And I had to insist on it repeatedly because Robert Harvoy wanted to ignore the fact that she existed. He wanted to ignore the fact that his client was repeatedly abused, and that's what this situation was over. Now, with those judges not having the right information, well, that also has a lot to do with the fact that the people who were involved didn't write a police report, didn't write a single one. Not a single one. Now, there are people who did write police reports, but the cops wouldn't listen to them. They wouldn't do a goddamn thing. That's the thing about, I've got these rights on paper, but in reality, these people don't have to do their jobs, even though there are consequences for them not doing their jobs. On paper, there are consequences for all of these mandated reporters. In reality, there's no such thing. In reality, they have the same sleight of hand, they can use the same excuses and pull the same bullshit. When I turn this in, someone has to be actively involved. Not somebody who's going to argue with me like I'm too retarded to know up from down and left from right. Now with Meg, just like many of these other people, when they wanted to treat me like I was a fucking moron for telling the truth, I outright called them morons. Here's the thing, I outright called them morons. They wanted to treat me like I was a moron. Treat me like I was too stupid to know what was going on. The situation where it took 4 months to get my driver's license, you know, that's a situation that did affect my situation a lot. And Meg, well, in the conversation that's 3.5 hours, she admits that it took 4 months just to get my driver's license back. The longer it takes to get those things to happen, the more likely it is that my predators are going to get away with it, and people need to get on it. I cannot do these things for myself. When I try, I get blown off repeatedly. Everyone has some excuse why they can't tell the truth. People like Polly Olson. These people are ashamed that they fucked up, and they're not willing to admit that they fucked up. If you're going to tell me that you're sorry for fucking up, And then you're going to pretend that the consequences don't actually exist when you know full well that they do. You're not sorry. If you were sorry, you would take steps to remedy the situation. And Meg keeps telling me about how she's a good person. She's a good person. She's a good person. She's a good person. Well, okay, you keep saying that. Make those calls with me. Actually write a police report. And when they ask you why it is that it took you over 1.5 years to write that police report, you can explain to them about how you got bad assumptions and wouldn't listen. Anyway, this is over 1 hour and 15 minutes long, so I gotta go. Y'all be safe.